Welcome to the Dental Marketing Guy Show. I'm Justin, the Dental Marketing Guy, and today I have a very special guest. It is a huge honor to interview Joy Hawkins. Let me tell you, a lot of people call themselves SEO experts, and I don't know if Joy holds that title or not, but she is definitely, whether she calls herself an SEO expert, a guru, or whatever she calls herself, she is definitely the real deal. And you know what's really interesting is I remember maybe about a year ago I was talking to a dentist and I said there really aren't that many women doing SEO. And I said, you know, the ones that are doing SEO, I haven't heard their names a whole lot. Well, what's interesting is Joy is actually a real thought leader in the SEO space, and she publishes on a number of very reputable SEO media outlets. She's definitely well sought after. She works directly with Google in terms of keeping the search engine clean from spam and clutter. She was invited to the Google headquarters to meet with all these PhDs that run the algorithms and all this. But you know what's really interesting is Joy actually got in touch with her on Dental Town, and she's given really good advice on Dental Town for dentists like you looking for help on SEO. So I thought, well, you know, being an SEO expert myself, who better to have on the show than another person to really give you the whole transparency, the whole everything that you deserve to know, so that if you want to rank your own site, you can do that, and you don't have to hire an SEO expert. But let me tell you, I can't say enough good things about you, and I know I probably could have gone down a list of a ton of different credentials that I didn't actually go into. But first, I just want to ask you, how are you doing, Joy?
I'm good. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but I'm actually 7.5 months pregnant, so I'll be going on maternity leave in about another 5 weeks or so. So as good as I can be for 7.5 months pregnant.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. That's
Yeah,
really
no
nice.
problem.
You know, maybe you could just kind of jump into the story of how you got into SEO, how you wound up on Dental Town. I know you're a really big contributor on localsearchforum.com. Maybe kind of go into the history of how did you find yourself in this profession?
Yeah, I actually started in 2006. So I've been in this for a while, and I started working for a company that actually sold AdWords to small business owners. And when Google Places first became in existence, all my clients were obsessed with it. They were like, "How do I get there? How do I get in that map section? And what's it all about?" So I just kind of dedicated a lot of time to try and figuring out how to rank there. And unfortunately, it's not as easy today as it used to be back then. I mean, it was like super easy to get businesses to rank, and it was a really great time. But as things have evolved and SEO has gotten harder, it's just become more and more challenging for us as marketers to kind of stay ahead of the curve. So, I mean, that's kind of where I started. But I got involved with Dental Town probably because of the amount of dentists that I work with, and I heard so many great things about the forum. I thought it'd be cool to kind of join and see what types of people needed advice there, and met some really great people on there. I have some clients that I got from there as well. So it's been a good place to hang out.
Nice, nice. So what would you say for dentists who are like, you know, this enigmatic practice of SEO? Seems like everybody's got an opinion. Some people say it's backlinks, some people say it's citations, some people say it's content. What's as far as let's focus on the Google My Business, the 3-pack as it's called right now, because I know that's something that you focus on. What are some of the top tips you could provide dentists in order to get ranked in that 3-pack?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing I see with dentists is knowing how many listings are out there currently for your practice. Probably the number one thing we have right at the beginning when we get dentists that call us with issues, it's usually because they've got like 4 or 5 listings, maybe 1 for the practice, 2 for different dentists, some for dentists that haven't worked for them in years, or maybe they moved, stuff like that. Generally, it's very hard to find all the listings that exist out there. Like if you didn't know how to look for them, you wouldn't just find them. But they can be real ranking killers and problematic. So that's like the number one thing I think that most people are unaware of that we find right at the beginning. And by solving those issues, it usually has a tremendous impact right away.
So when you say listings, are you talking about citations like Yelp and Yellow Pages, Facebook, and places like that?
No, just listings on Google. So there's, I guess, two different types of listings that they would have. There's an unverified listing, which is just a listing that shows up on Google Maps, but it's not claimed or anything through Google My Business. So the owner wouldn't even probably know about it. Those are probably the hardest to find. And then obviously, if you claim the listing, then you manage it through Google My Business. But there are lots of listings on Google Maps for businesses or professionals like dentists that lots of people just aren't even aware they exist, and they rank for certain things, and because they rank, the practice listing doesn't rank, so they actually kind of compete with the listing that the dentist really wants to show up.
Yeah, you know, one of the most frequently asked questions about this is dental offices that have multiple dentists will have multiple listings, like you said, Google My Business listings, and they actually don't know how they came into existence. A lot of them don't know that they even do exist. And so for those, even if it's a solo practitioner, it could be two listings, right? So it could be
Mhm.
the practice name and then the dentist name. And sometimes they're even sending reviews to the one that they don't want, the dentist name, when they're trying to book a practice. So I'm wondering, what do you tell dentists in terms of, well, how do you clean that? How do you choose a listing? How do you go about auditing that and cleaning it up?
Yeah, well, for solo practitioners, they should always have one listing. So if they've got two, we always consolidate them right away because the less listings, the better. More listings is generally just more problems. So in the same sense, we don't generally suggest people go out and create listings for their dentists if they don't exist already. You know, if you got some like new dentist starting next month, you're like, ooh, I'm going to set up a profile for them. Bad idea. Google's always going to create them on their own eventually. Once they have enough data, they're going to create a listing. So it's kind of inevitable that your practitioners or dentists might end up on Google, whether you want them to or not. But for many reasons, like reviews being one of them, it's the fewer listings is usually better because it's better to have one listing with 50 reviews than like, you know, one with 10, one with 20, and another one with 10, right? It's better to try and consolidate all the ranking power. I did write a blog about this. It was on Whitespark's blog. So whitespark.ca, they're a really reputable company that does a lot of citation building. And they had me do an article on best practices for practitioner listings and like what to do about them. So I kind of summarized lots of different scenarios on that article in depth as well.
Excellent. Well, you know, he's actually coming on the show next.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, someone from White Spark.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll put a link to that article
Sure.
in show notes. So can you tell us, speaking of links, can you tell us a little bit about how much I'm always talking about content and backlinks, content and backlinks. It's about creating great content that your ideal patient types actually crave instead of just blogging for SEO purposes, and that the content's so good, you go out, you promote it, and people link to it as a resource. Would you say, and that has a lot to do with organic rankings, would you say that the three pack, and this is a post possum world, right? So you know, there's the possum update, which is very recent. I think it was on October 1st or around there. And what is really the one thing, other than having one single listing, what's the one thing? Is it links? Is it content? Is it filling out the Google My Business report? What's the one thing that you see working better than anything else?
Yeah, I would probably argue that there isn't one thing, because that's the thing. A lot of people are looking to focus on one thing, and because they focus on one aspect of SEO and do it really well, they don't necessarily see the results that they want. So I always tell people, remind them that the ranking factors, there's about 200 or so of them. So if you just focus on one, you're probably missing the giant other pieces that you need to be doing. That being said, I agree content is huge. And as far as the type of content I normally try to push for dentists is like frequently asked questions. For example, when I got my wisdom teeth out recently, I had all kinds of questions, like all kinds of symptoms I was having after the procedure and before, like, can I eat? Can I do this? Can I do that? Like I had so many questions, and there are very few dentists that actually answered those questions well when I was, doing different Google searches. So there's tons of opportunities there. On the linking aspect, where we generally start with dentists, is the kind of low-hanging fruit, which are, health grades and rate MDs and like all the sites out there that they already have profiles on, but they're not filled out and they don't even link to their website and they don't even list all the information on the dentist. So those are a really good place to start. Once you've, captured those, obviously getting more links is always challenging, where you kind of have to be creative with content and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that I love what you just said. You said, it's not there's not a silver bullet. There's not a magic bullet. There's not one thing. And I say, yeah, of course, throughout the course of a campaign, just like in any sport or any endeavor in life, you can get lucky. You can get that one link from that media outlet that shoots you to the top above the competition, because that article went viral and it was really, really useful and powerful. But that's because of, would you say that a consistent, steady, long-term marathon-like approach that's when you start to get lucky, or even if you don't get lucky, that's when you see results because of the consistency? Would you say that's your
For
philosophy?
sure. Yeah, I definitely long term, with SEO, and people that have been in it longer have a serious advantage, right? So it's definitely hard for a new practice that just starts up and gets a brand new website and they want to dominate Google tomorrow. And it's just not even possible. They're like, how much money? What if I pay like 4 times as much for SEO and I throw it all out there? And I'm like, well, you can, and maybe that would kickstart it a bit, but it's not going to get you there overnight. There's just no way to do that. The only exception to that rule, I would say, is if you're willing to break all Google's guidelines and you're willing to risk your entire site and listing getting penalized, there are ways to break Google's guidelines that get you ranked a lot faster. I just never suggest it, because in the end, it ends up killing you once you get caught. So it's not worth it for the short-term gain.
What are some of the differences between SEO companies that you see? I mean, if we have a conversation, it's probably a little esoteric for our audience. But as far as, like, say there's the company that cold calls and they say, for $3.95 a month, or they cold email, we're gonna get you ranked. And then there's people like, like Brian Dean or yourself, or I don't know if I could throw myself in that category, but where it could be 10 grand a month to rank a certain site. What's kind of the difference? Is there a spectrum, or what do you see in terms of that lower priced SEO? What do you typically see them actually doing for SEO compared to the higher priced SEO?
Yeah, the lower price guys, I mean, first of all, a lot of them have terrible reputations. So I would venture to say that their process doesn't work. If you Google a lot of these companies, a lot of names are coming to mind, plus reviews. If like you went out and looked up Imprezio reviews, right, the company I work for, you'd see all our reviews on Yelp and Google and whatnot. A lot of times you do this for these cheap companies and you just see awful reviews. Like, you see their customers have literally, yeah, sure, it sounds great at 300, 400 bucks a month, but they end up getting nothing from it. So, doing research before you hire a company is really crucial. That being said, there are some industries that the cookie cutter approach does still kind of work a bit. Like, if you're in an industry where no one really knows about SEO and maybe you're the first to do it, doing just the bare minimum works and you might get you ranked. So I would say that's true for certain industries. I'd say the dentist industry is definitely not the case. Most dentists or dental practices have SEO companies. So you're competing with people that are actively in this space. And I don't think you can do that on a $300, $400 budget well, unless you're in a small market. Like, maybe if you're one of 3 dentists in a town, then, you're not really competing with much. So you probably don't need to spend $10,000 a month on SEO. But yeah, I just think the cookie cutter approach is where they do the exact same thing for every single business. They're like, oh, we'll put you in 5 citations a month and we will do a blog post once a month. And that's their SEO efforts. That stuff just doesn't work very well.
Right. And so, I would say, one blog post could be it could be an amazing thing, but who's writing the blog post, right? If it's Joy Hawkins writing the blog post, maybe it's a little bit better than the $300 a month company. So when SEO companies, would you say, as a general rule of thumb, vet the company, make sure you check out their reviews, get some references, but also, if I was in an interview the other day saying, if a company's cold calling you, half their resources are going to Salesforce, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other half is going towards SEO, whatever that is. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and so would you say, as a general rule of thumb, if someone's cold calling you and offering you SEO for $200, $300, $400 a month, and they're offering blogging as part of that. Would you say it's a pretty fair bet that the content is going to be really low quality for a dentist?
Yeah, and dentists shouldn't worry about that, because if they get those calls, again, just search the company, and usually online reviews speak for themselves. Like, you should be able to find reviews from their former customers or current customers online that will tell you if it's worth paying for. And I mean, honestly, like any of those companies that do it that like that, like the way that you're describing, their average star rating on Yelp is like 1. So it's usually pretty easy to fish out the bad guys. But yeah, I would definitely be skeptical if I got a call from someone like that.
I want to know your opinion. This is a little bit of a controversial topic because I actually hold a position that's a little bit against the grain of what most people are saying, at least on Dental Town and in the SEO community, and that is about guaranteed SEO results. And I use the analogy of life insurance. I say, if someone wants to give you life insurance, they're guaranteeing you a payment, in that event that you hold your end of the deal, they hold theirs. And I think that gets confused with controlling the results on Google, where if a company wants to give you a guarantee of a certain KPI, key performance indicators, or whether that be rankings or whatever, I say let them do it, because what do you have to lose? But a lot of people confuse that with a Google. Google says no one can guarantee rankings, which is absolutely true. Do you find that most, and I know most reputable SEO companies don't offer any kind of guarantee, but they do strive for ROI.
For sure.
And sometimes they guarantee that ROI, which is, it could involve recording the calls, it could involve getting the practice management system. But what's your opinion as far as guaranteeing results with SEO?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely not one of the companies that will guarantee results in the sense of like, yeah, you'll get to the first page in this amount of time, because Google does very strongly advise against that. That being said, if you're not getting ROI for a business you're working with, I mean, they're not going to keep you. So it's in our best interest to get our customers themselves. Otherwise, they're not going to stay. I think where business owners go wrong though with SEO is they just don't give it enough time. If they're expecting an ROI by month 3, that's probably not going to happen with SEO, probably with AdWords, but not SEO. And it also depends on what kind of shape they're in when they start. I mean, I've had guys that we get them an ROI right away because they're not really in that bad shape. They had some major problems, and once we fix them, they shoot up, and that's great. Unfortunately, the average person, we get them and they're like not even in the top 50. And I'm like, guys, it's going to be a while. Like, you're not going to be there next month or even the month after. So, someone said SEO is kind of like the stock market, and it's like a long-term investment. You got to keep your money in there long-term in order to really see the return on it, and make sure you choose the right stocks, because, you invest in the wrong company and you're screwed. So definitely important for people to do their homework, but it's like anything, like stock market, you say it's like hiring a lawyer. You can't find a lawyer that's going to guarantee you that they will be able to win you a certain number of dollars in a case. But hiring the best lawyer, the best person for the job, someone who's qualified, is, the best decision you can make.
Oh yeah, and that's an awesome example. Is that
Use that one a lot.
Personal injury lawyers,
Yep.
like no fee if we don't win, but they don't guarantee a specific result, like you said. But they do work on a contingency. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think I just thought it was kind of an interesting topic. I think, and what happened is I actually stopped saying that. I stopped saying like I'm going to offer a guarantee of certain key performance indicators or ROI or things like that. Because what I found was most of the dentists who are serious about SEO, they don't want a guarantee. They actually want you to just be like you said, a real professional who's trying to get great results, and of course that leads to referrals, that leads to case studies. It's great. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. So as far as the 3-pack, like staying consistent, would you say what is the 3-pack? How is it different, the algorithm of the 3-pack compared to the organic?
Yeah, well, obviously there's less spots. I mean, it's very competitive. One of the things we've seen since the Possum update that happened on September 1st is the 3-pack is vastly different depending on exactly what you search and where you search from. So, you used to kind of see like one business kind of dominate if you searched around the city, if you were in a big city, you type in like dentist Las Vegas from one end of the city and you type the same search term in from the other end of the city, you'd see probably like similar guys. That's becoming less and less the case. Like Google is definitely starting to see the actual user's location more and more, trying to make it more of a fair thing. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's just because they want businesses to not dominate, so they'll spend money in AdWords, and maybe that's true. But there's a lot more, I guess it's a lot more volatile that way, whereas organic tends to be like not that way. You're not going to get different organic results from different areas. So I've seen a lot of really well-respected SEO professionals in the local SEO roles. They swear by organic, and they said 3-pack's important. But like organic, you have so much more potential for traffic, which I would probably agree with, given what's going on lately. I think it's ideal to be in all three, AdWords, Maps, and organic. But I think people often think organic doesn't matter because they're just like obsessed with that 3-pack, and I think that's a really big mistake.
And I think one of the reasons why is, dentists have told me the emergency cases, the people who are really serious about getting in right now, they're going to tend to click the AdWords on their mobile phone, or they're going to tend to click the 3-pack on their mobile phone, because people know when they click the organic result, that's more about kind of like the content, getting to know, like, and trust. Who am I doing business with? And so those tend to be more the deliberate searchers. They're thinking maybe 3 months in the future. But I would say that's where the real mileage comes from, is your content, being able to have a professional video, professional photography, professional writing that's personable, and preferably some sort of emotional connection. Would you tend to agree that it's definitely, with the organic, you have more potential to win over more people who are not emergency cases because of that content journey you can take them on?
Yeah, and I get mixed results from dentists on what they want. Like a lot of the dentists I work with don't actually want the emergency clients or patients, because they say like they're not as likely to stay long term and actually become like a real life patient. So there's like the benefit on that is that yes, they're urgent and they're looking right away. So you can really kill it with AdWords or even being in the 3-pack and get a lot of business right away from it. But I think long term, if they're looking for more patients that are going to stay with their practice for years and years and years, you don't just get those from the emergency keywords. So I think it's good to have a balanced approach and also know like what the goals are of the practice as well, like where they really want to expand, because sometimes like the SEO team might not realize that like they don't care at all about this one service they offer, and they are focusing all these efforts on it, and then that's not even what the dentist wants. So it's really good to get some clear goals and objectives from the dentist on what types of patients they're looking for, what types of procedures before starting. It's very important.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more, because I think what I've found in my career is it's really about the client's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is half of SEO, is setting clear expectations, setting goals, milestones, and having a barometer where you can actually gauge success. I know I've ranked clients in way less time than I anticipated, and then I've also had cases where it took a little longer than expected, and I just said, look, don't even bill me until we reach that goal, and then let's keep going. And so I feel like SEO is very nebulous. It's very enigmatic to people. And I thank you very much for coming on and just saying just a few quick tips. This is really good, because I think for a lot of dentists, knowing who to trust when it comes to SEO is a really big deal. So coming from the dental marketing guy, Joy, she's definitely a resource. If you want to ask her some questions, she's there. Where can the viewers find you?
Yeah, so I mean, I always suggest that people, if they have questions, posting on Dental Town is a great place. The local search forum is not as obviously geared to dentists, but it's more like local businesses as a whole. But that being said, there's a ton of insight you can pick up from other industries that would actually probably give you an edge over maybe other dentists and stuff. So I hang out there a lot. I'm also on the Google My Business forum. So if people have issues with their listings that they need Google help from, that would be the best place to post on there. Because either a Google employee or a top contributor who can escalate things to Google can help them out. So any questions, I always welcome lots of questions on forums. I try to spend quite a bit of time answering people's questions on there and publicly posting the answers so that even future readers can benefit from it.
Excellent. Well, I love the transparency. I love the fact that people like you and I are going out there teaching dentists, and really, we put ourselves out there where anyone can come in and just be like, no, that's not right. Chop her down, chop her down.
Yeah.
And you're putting and that's why, on Dental Town just the other day, before, I know we're coming to a close on our time, but I just want to say, I had a dentist, he was like, he private messaged me and he was like, listen, man, you say you're an expert and everyone says they're an expert. So, I want to believe you're an expert, but you're a self-proclaimed expert. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. So he's like, how do you know the difference? And I'm like, well, there's a very clear difference. There's one thing you need to look for. Who's teaching publicly? And they're exposed to any criticism. They're exposed to any alternative opinions. That's science. That's science. So if you think SEO is not a science, look to the people who are teaching and, putting themselves out there where anyone can say, no, that's not right, and here's a case study to prove it. So anyways, yeah, thanks Joy so much for coming on.
No problem.
And yeah, just one more time, what was that website?
For which was the forum?
Imprezio?
Oh, the company I work for, impreziomarketing.com. Feel free to reach out to me directly. People have questions or whatever too. I mean, I think my email and phone number and everything is public on Twitter. So I don't find it's not hard to find my contact information online.
Excellent, excellent. And guys, thanks for watching the Dental Marketing Guy show.